He was one of Bradbury's kind of people who early took to wings, jumped first from the barn roof at home, then the church steeple, and when his bones were finally out of slings, took off from Baldy's snowy dome, landing this time in a tree, and still denied the pull of gravity. Instead, he dug the pull of endless time and space, gazed nightly at the stars, read Verne and Wells, became an active flying ace who dreamed of setting foot on where else, Mars, or was it old Barsoom? He watched the astronauts return 2 times from walking on the moon and swore he'd break the bonds that held him soon. Then one day they came, out in the bog, behind the Carter place, took him and his dog for one swift, silent spin in outer space to Mars itself and back again. I only know they disappeared one day and were gone a long, long time away. Since they came back, they mostly sit and look at the green trees, the garden, and the brook. The poem's called Earthbound, and it's about all of us, Bradbury's kind of people. Good evening. Listen, everybody, I have a plan tonight, which is to try and entertain you for a short while, and I'll do a little actor song and dance. You'll laugh, you'll giggle. You'll say, "What's Captain Kirk doing?" And I'll say, "He's acting. Our Captain Kirk is acting." And there's just 2 things I ask you. One is to enjoy it. You got to enjoy it. No, after I do my little song and dance, we'll open the lights and we'll talk, and I'll do questions and answers, and I'll tell you amazingly funny stories about things that have happened to me. And all you'll have to do is have a good time. There's just a couple of things I ask you, and that is, one is the flashbulbs in this first part where I'm attempting to entertain will destroy my concentration and destroy your concentration and be a bummer all the way around. So if you could hold the flashbulbs and the cameras, afterwards you can get all, do things. Then you get all the fun pictures. Right now you just get an actor trying to. And the second thing is, within this short little thing I'm going to do, there will be an occasional silence, calculated cunningly to attract your attention. Or it may very well be that I'm trying to remember my lines. But in any case, among this group, I'd say a half a dozen will have something far more intelligent to say than I could ever think of in that pause. Write it down. And then you send it in, and I'll have a box top for you from Kellogg's. And so just that kind of thing would really be helpful. Forgotten how it starts. When we think of unknown worlds, we think of Jones Beach. No. It is an unknown world. Whatever happened to Nathan's? I don't know. That's an unknown world. When we think of unknown worlds, we think of the galaxy. We think of the stars, the universe. But you've got to imagine that up until a comparatively few years ago, that unknown world lay just a few miles away from where a man was born and lived and died. And that tantalizing horizon followed it. No matter how far he traveled, it was there. Just whether he was Marco Polo or a Neanderthal, that horizon just kept beckoning him. And it beckoned him to the edges of the earth. And finally, it beckoned him into space. And no matter where he went, whether it was beyond the salt marshes at Montauk Point or into the galaxy, man imagined mythical worlds. And those mythical worlds are as real to him as that garden and the brook and the trees of that poem. I want to get inside your heads. I want to take you flying. Those of you who are not already flying. I'll get inside your head. You go on a trip with me. All you have to do is just sit back and relax, and I'll take you flying. But the whole thing is, you got to kind of go with me and listen to me and listen to my voice. I'm going to hypnotize you if I can. Ooh. I don't know what you're laughing at, but okay. Now, the whole thing here is you got to relax. Just settle back and say, come on. Just right. That's it. Yeah. That's it. Now. That's it. What are you laughing at? Relax. And close your eyes. I'll close mine after you close yours. You first. Seriously, close your eyes. Go with me. Go with me for about 3 minutes. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Ooh, relax. Oh, that's good. Okay, now, think of the garden of that poem. Got to concentrate, pinpoint focus, concentration on the green trees. Think of the green trees and listen. If you listen, you can hear the sound of the birds and the breeze in the trees. Listen. Go with me. Hear it? Now, smell the scent of the earth. That is the earth. Go with me. Smell the scent of the flowers. That's it. Go with me. Keep your eyes closed. Concentrate on the sound of the birds. No, don't go with me. Now, keep your eyes closed and relax. And think of yourself in the garden of that poem. Look at yourself. Look down on yourself, lying on the grass, looking up at the blue sky. Blue sky through the treetops. Focus on the sky. And feel the weight of your body pressed against the grass. Go ahead, feel it. Feel the breeze caress your cheek. Now let your mind float upward. Let go of the garden. Let it float upward. Higher until you leave the garden and you can see the globe of the earth with its blue oceans and its white cloud cover and the continents. Look, concentrate on it. Let your mind float into the solar system. Look at the planets wheeling around the sun. Now let go of the solar system. Go with me and let your mind wander out into the galaxy. Blackness. Look back. The Milky Way is just a silver wisp, millions of light years away. Imagine yourself on a star path to the outer star clusters. Go further into the galaxy, universe, blackness, and listen to the stars talking to you in a myriad of strange tongues. Keep your eyes closed. Man has always thought of the heavens as the abode of unimaginable unknowns, and he has sought to know the mysteries of those unknowns by means of flight, the expansion of his physical and spiritual being. Keep your eyes closed. Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth. and dance the skies. On laughter's silver wings, sunward I have climbed, and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds, and done 100 things you have not dreamed of. Wheeled and soared and swung high in the sunlit silence. Hovering there, I have chased the shouting wind alone, and flown my eagle craft through footless halls of air. Up the long, delirious, burning blue, I have topped the wind-swept heights with easy grace, where never lark or even eagle flew. And then with silent, lifting mind, I have trod the high, untrespassed sanctity of faith, put out my hand, and touched the face of God. Open your eyes. You went with me. We flew. Galileo set off a moon rush of lunar fiction. And an improbable early entrant was Francis Godwin, a bishop of the church, English church. And he wrote a book, Voyage to the Moon. It's starring Domingo Gonzalez, who flew to the moon in a chair pulled by superbirds, saw a helicopter, telephone, telegraph, experienced weightlessness from his dizzying ascent, and found utopia on the moon. Predictably, Godwin's utopia was the exact opposite of 17th century England. No war, no disease, no hunger. Men were even faithful to their wives. And his society was stratified by height instead of money. We don't know how tall Godwin was, but we can hazard a guess. And he wasn't the only one to make utopia into his own image. For example, Cyrano de Bergerac made a big thing of noses. In his comical history of the moon, baby boys had their noses measured. Those with short noses, castrated to avoid passing on that miserable deficiency. Well, I mean, a large nose is a sign of all that is good in man. Wit, courtesy, humor, intelligence. Well, Cyrano knew he had one. He also had an outsized imagination to match. Whereas Godwin could think of only one way to get to the moon, Cyrano could think of at least 6. And so, Edmond de Rostand wove the fantasies of the real Cyrano de Bergerac into a play about him. The scene is a walled garden. And over here is a balcony underneath the entrance to the house. And inside the house we can catch a glimpse of the beginnings of a wedding ceremony, the preparations for a wedding ceremony between Christian and Roxane. Outside, full moon suspended overhead, Cyrano and Roxane, beloved Roxane. He's never been able to tell her that he loves her. Oh, no, I can't tell her. And Roxane is begging Cyrano to stop de Guiche, another musketeer, from getting into the house until after the wedding ceremony is over. 15 minutes. That's all I want. 15 minutes. And she leaves. Oh. Don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. That's his nose down here. Got an idea. Up the wall to the balcony. Gets up to the balcony. Finds a vine. Sees de Guiche coming in. Swings out like Tarzan. Falls flat on his back. From the moon! From the moon! I fell out of the moon! Stunned. What time is it? What day is it? What season? What year? I'm stunned. Like a bomb. I fell out of the moon. I say the moon. I'm not speaking metaphorically. 100 years? An hour? I cannot say how long I fell. I was in yonder shining sphere. Where am I? Tell me, I can bear it. Into what quarter of the globe have I descended like a meteorite? I could not choose my place to fall. The earth spun round so quickly. This is the earth. Or is this another world, I wonder? Whither have I been drawn by the dead weight of my posterior? Are you a native? Excuse my appearance. I arrived by the last thunderbolt, a trifle singed, as I came through the ether. These long journeys, so few conveniences. I have stardust in my eyes. On my doublet, it's a comet's hair. Oh, there's a tooth stuck in my boot. From the Great Bear. Trying to get away, I tripped over the scorpion, came down flat on one scale of the balances, the pointer of which marks my weight at the moment. See? Be careful. If you struck me on the nose, it would drip milk from the Milky Way. No, from heaven. From heaven I came. Curious place up there. Did you know that Sirius wears a nightcap? True. The little bear, still too young to bite. I put my foot through the lyre and broke a string. Yes, well, when I write my book and tell the story of my adventures, all the little stars that shake out of my cloak, I shall need to save those to use as asterisks. Yes, I know. You wish to know from my very lips the character of the moon's surface, its inhabitants, if any. By what mysterious means I reached the moon? Well, confidentially, it was a new invention of my own. I scorned the eagle of Regiomontanus and the dove of Archytas. I imitated no one. I myself discovered not one scheme merely, but six ways to violate the virgin sky. For example, having stripped myself bare as a wax candle, I anoint my body with the heaven's morning mist captured in crystal vials. Then I stretch myself out in the light and let the sun's full blaze draw me to heaven as it draws the dew. Then there is a second way. I can condense a powerful rush of wind by rarefying air within a chamber using a 20-sided burning glass. Or, having some manual skill, I might construct a rocket in the shape of a locust powered by gunpowder and with successive blasts of fire mount upward by leaps and bounds. Again, since smoke is bound to rise, I blow enough into a globe to carry me high above the world. Diana, goddess of the moon, draws a long bow. But when her bow is slender, she sucks marrow from the oxen. So I smear myself with it and wait to be sucked skyward. Lastly, I sit upon an iron plate and throw a magnet high into the sky. The iron flies to join the magnet. I throw the magnet further off. That way I can ascend indefinitely. Which one of these? Why not? A seventh. Guess. Have you guessed it yet? The ocean. 1 hour, the rising tide seeks the full moon. I stretch me on the sand, fresh from the spray, my head flaunting the moonbeams, since hair retains moisture. And so I slowly rose, as upon angels' wings, effortlessly upwards. Then suddenly I felt a bump, and then... Your time is up, my grace. 15 minutes, you're free to go, and they are bound in wedlock. Well, once again, Cyrano proved the tongue mightier than the sword. In fact, the real Cyrano had such a high regard for words. He made that his lunar currency and not money. Alas, that remains fantasy. But many of Cyrano's futuristic notions came to pass. For example, he envisioned a room lit by flameless tapers enclosed in glass. One of his characters fashions the first parachute made out of a billowing skirt. He he saw a pageless book that emits sound, first phonograph. And he describes a multi-stage rocket with the boosters falling away. And he envisaged the fountain of youth on the moon. And in a way, he wasn't far from wrong there. There is a kind of fountain of youth in space, and it's called the time dilation effect. It goes something like this. If you were to leave the Earth at a steady acceleration of 1g, Earth's gravity, we would reach the Andromeda Nebula, 1 million light years away, in 30 years of ship time. That's ship time, not Earth time. That's because as we approach the speed of light, time slows down. When we return from this mythical journey, the Earth would be 2 million years old. We would have aged 60 years, of course. The question is, what would we see when we arrived back from this mythical journey? Would we be Neanderthals by comparison to the sophisticated people that were on Earth? Or would we see mutant life forms emerging from atomic ruins? Indeed, would the Earth be here at all? Those esoteric notions are written about in modern-day science fiction. In the 18th century, their concerns were much closer to home. For example, in 1727, when the South Sea bubble burst, people went broke. And a lot of get-rich-quick schemes proliferated. John Daniel and his son, on a magic platform, went into space on a magic platform with calico wings. And with them, instead of taking food and drink, they took a magic leaf for a space stick. And then a whole army of fictional balloonists came after them. Vivenaire sent a balloon to the newly discovered planet Georgium Sidus. It was named Georgium Sidus by its discoverer, William Herschel, who an astronomer, and it was named after King George, who finally lost out because that planet is now known as Uranus. And a print from the mid-1800s shows a typically French contribution to the balloon craze. In this print it's a gaily striped balloon that can seat 4,000 people. There's a cafe, organ music, and a bordello. And then fact overcame fiction. And in New York City here, there, the New York Sun newspaper began to report extraordinary facts. John Herschel, astronomer, it reported, has built a giant telescope on the Cape of Good Hope, and with it, he can see new civilizations on the moon and on the planets. And there were banner headlines, actual fact. On Wednesday, unicorn on the moon. Thursday, biped beavers that walk like men, live in huts, use fire. Friday, winged humanoids. Saturday, temple made of polished sapphire. Monday, man bats. And on Tuesday, a reporter by the name of John Locke got a raise in salary from his $12 a week. He had made the whole thing up. And maybe it was because of that kind of reporting in the New York Sun that made these things both frightening and thrilling at the same time, that first set people thinking about the little green men. Maybe whatever's up there, they thought, is just like us. Well, maybe they're better than us. Maybe they're, a little worm of fear began to do its work. Psyches opened up like Pandora's box. Fear of the unknown began to people the mystery of space with monsters. Are we alone? Are they up there? Are they watching us? And in the London of H.G. Wells in 1894, they came. The scene is Horsell Common. There's a large hole made last night by the impact of a meteor-like projectile. Sand and gravel have been flung violently in all directions. It can be seen for a mile and a half. The heather is on fire, and the smoke can be seen against the darkening sky as it goes towards night. The projectile itself lies in a deep pit almost completely buried in sand and gravel and pieces of wood from shattered fir trees. The uncovered part of what seems to be a giant cylinder is caked over with a dun-colored encrustation. Maybe 100 people or more are gathered around, communicating in short, excited cries, hiding behind the hedges and in the ditches and behind the fences. And a young man, eyewitness, obviously shaken, gives this account. I think perhaps everyone expected a man to emerge. Perhaps a little unlike us terrestrial men, but in all essentials a man. I know I did. But presently I saw something stirring within the shadows. Gray, billowy movements, one upon another. And then two luminous discs, like eyes. And then something resembling a little gray snake, the size perhaps of a walking stick, coiled up out of the writhing middle and wriggled toward me. And then another. A sudden chill came over me. It was a shriek from a woman behind me. I turned, keeping my eyes still on the cylinder from which another of those tentacles were now emerging. I began to push myself back from the edge of the pit. I saw astonishment give way to terror on the faces of the people around me. There were inarticulate exclamations on all sides. There was a general movement backward. I found myself alone. The people on the other side of the pit had run off, Stent among them. I looked back at the cylinder and was overcome with ungovernable terror and was petrified and staring. A large, grayish hulk, the size perhaps of a bear, was slowly and painfully rising out of the cylinder. As it bulged up and caught the light, it glistened like wet leather. Two dark-colored eyes gazed at me steadfastly. The mass of the thing surrounded it. The head of the thing was rounded and had, one might say, a face. There was a mouth underneath the eyes, the lipless brim of which quivered and panted and dropped saliva. The whole creature heaved and pulsated convulsively. A lank, tentacular appendage gripped the edge of the cylinder. Another swayed in the air. Those who have never seen a living Martian can scarcely understand the strange horror of its appearance. The peculiar V-shaped mouth with its pointed upper lip, the absence of brow ridges, the absence of a chin beneath its wedge-like lower lip, the incessant trembling of those lips, the gorgon group of tentacles, the tumultuous breathing of the lungs in this strange atmosphere, the evident heaviness and painfulness of movement due to the greater gravitational energy flow of the earth, and above all, the extraordinary intensity of those immense eyes which were at once vital, intense, crippled, inhuman, and monstrous. There was something fungoid in the oily brown skin, something in the tedious movements unspeakably nasty. Even at this first encounter, this first glimpse, I was overcome with dread and disgust. This chilling account was by H.G. Wells in War of the Worlds. And to Wells's countrymen who had an almost childlike belief in God, the empire, and science, it rang a note of dire warning. Science was not all benign. Man was not in complete control. I read Verne, and I read Wells, and I read a lot of science fiction when I was younger. I found science fiction like a window to the future, because some of the men who write that form of literature are scientists, and they've had some acquaintanceship with laboratory possibilities, and they have the imagination of artists. They combine the two, and it kind of gives you the possibilities of the future. I was intrigued always by science fiction. One day I was working in New York. A man by the name of Gene Roddenberry called me. He said, look, we've made a pilot film called StarTrek. It didn't sell. We're going to make, but NBC and Paramount Studios are sufficiently interested in making a second pilot. Would you come and see the first pilot with the idea of being in it? I flew back to Hollywood and saw the magic, the possibilities. We all worked together to try to overcome some of the problems that had plagued the first pilot, and the rest is history. Here we are. Put the house like that. Why don't some of you who have a question about Star Trek or anything else, for that matter, ask me, and I'll try and answer it truthfully, and if I can't, I'll be a liar. Got a question? Yes. Do I have any idea when the movie is going to be started? Yes, I have an idea. Oh, your next question is when? All right. Let me tell you what I know. I'll clear the air of the whole movie thing. I'll tell you everything I know about the movie, who, what, when, and where, and how. Okay. And how much? When? In the summertime, we will film it. To be released, possibly by the end of the year. How? By great artistry. No. What's a good answer to how? 35 millimeter film, $7 or $8 million to be spent on it. It's going to be a giant project. Going to have roles written for major motion picture stars, as well as most of the regular members of the cast. At this moment, I have signed a contract to be in it, and okay. And even as we speak, Leonard Nimoy may be signing his name. I say maybe because he is in, well, contention is a harsh word. Battle seems to be a knockdown, drag-out fight seems to be no. There's a little disagreement between Leonard and the studio, as there always is, between the actors and the studio. There's a battle, and there is a myth that evokes greater creative energies. Does nothing of the kind. It's totally debilitating, and it drags you down. But the battle has to be fought. So, what's Leonard excited about, you may ask? You may ask that, right? Yes, right. That's right. What is Leonard excited about, you may ask? Leonard was walking in Piccadilly Circus last year, which is a name for a large thing. Okay. So, you know. Okay. Now, he's walking along, and he sees a billboard divided into 3 sections. It's got Leonard's face on it, with the ears. But the ears are drooping. Now, that's in the first segment. Second segment, droopy-eared Spock and a tankard of ale. A rather well-endowed young man saying, right on! Tankard of ale. Third segment, empty tankard of ale, ears shot straight up.
the implications, you know.
So Leonard is looking at that thing and saying, this is kind of demeaning.
No, he said, this is kind of demeaning.
So he ends up back at the studio, and he says to the studio, hey, fellas, did you, there was this billboard there with a thing and a thing, and what's that?
And they said, oh, we don't know about that.
So he goes to his lawyer, and he brings his contract to his lawyer. His lawyer looks at this contract. Now, what you got to understand is what we have in this room, folks, is a phenomenon. We have an absolutely incredible thing. We have a series that ran 3 years on network television in the late 60s to the 1970s. Canceled because not enough people were watching it. Where were you? And 7 years later, you're in the audience. And a multi-million-dollar movie is going to be made. Right on. It is phenomenal. It staggers everybody who thinks about it. Not many people think about it, but those who do. So the phenomena goes on, applies in all directions, including the contracts that series actors sign. There are certain standard clauses in a series contract, and then there are, numbers are filled in differently and all that, but certain standard clauses. And the lawyer looking through this contract couldn't find the right to merchandise Leonard Nimoy. Apparently the studio, according to him, did not have the right to merchandise Leonard Nimoy's face from 1970 on. Well, it's a multi-million-dollar thing going on here with the books and one of my kids went out as Captain Kirk, for God's sakes, with that mask. On Halloween, And my other daughter wore the Spock mask. And my wife beamed down. It was the whole thing was kind of inane. They all got in on the act. But what I mean is there's a great deal of money involved. And so Leonard said, hey, fellas, I think we got to have to discuss something. I know the studio wants him. I know he wants to do it. And when that happens, he'll be in the movie. Now, no question about it. Now, you may ask, what is the movie about? What did you say?
What is the movie about?
Oh, is that what you said? What is the movie about? What is the movie about? Well, let me tell you how I heard about the movie to begin with, which entails telling you something about what the movie is about. Bear in mind that the movie is being written. This very moment, there are two guys filling blank page after blank page with idiocy that will be all cut once they had it. I know a producer. I swear this is the truth. I know a producer. The writer's... I can't name it. I won't name it. But they took this mad comedy writer, bodily, shoved him in a room, locked the door, and said, you're not allowed out until you hand in X amount of pages, whatever the pages were. And the guy had to slip the pages in underneath through the door. It was like, he's a famous comedy writer. But I can't tell you his name. Bob Kaufman. So they're right. So now, how did I find out about the movie? You may ask. How did I... What'd you say? I was doing... Paramount Studios is a huge studio. So you can work at one end and not see the other end for 5 years. And that goes for the cleaning people, too, I think. And so I'm working in this series that lasted about 5 minutes called The Barbary Coast. And we're usually down at that end. One afternoon, cold, windy afternoon. That's what's that, you ask? and I'm up there where StarPodTrek was filmed. And stages 31, 32, I think. A wave of nostalgia. I remembered all the good times, the people, friends, things that had happened. So I took a walk down nostalgia's path, down the road upon which the offices all front. writers' offices were no longer in use, barren. Lucille Ball had left Desilu, which was then purchased. No, RKO. She purchased Desilu from RKO, which was then purchased by Paramount, which was then purchased by Gulf and Western. I mean, as a whole thing went on, and finally offices were lost. And where is that office? And I found the old Star Trek office, and I was walking down the street. Shutters flapping in the wind. I heard the sound of a typewriter. I walked into one of the hallways, and down the hallway. It was dank and cold and cobwebs. I came to the office. It said, Star Trek. K had faded. And then the sound of the typewriter was now loud in my ears. I opened the door. I saw Gene Roddenberry typing away. I hadn't seen him in 5 years. It's Gene. The series is canceled. He said, I know it's canceled. You don't have to tell me. He said, I'm writing the movie. I said, going to be a movie? He said, yes. I said, tell me what's going to happen. I said, tell me what's going to happen. Yeah, tell me what's going to happen. I said, you already had your question. I said, well, so I said, tell me what's going to happen. What did he say? I don't know. That's what he said. I don't know. He doesn't speak very well. So I looked over his shoulder. And I read what he had written. What are you doing? That's crazy. He speaks very well. In French. So he said, first of all, I said, tell me about it. He said, first of all, we got to explain how you guys got older. He says, what's going to happen is everybody goes up in rank. Captain is now an admiral. Betcha. This kind of an admiral. Rear admiral. That. I tried that out tonight. Wasn't it? I'll kill it in the second show. Don't worry about it. I got Richard laughing. That's good enough for me. And all the rest of the crew, the old familiar gang, are all starship commanders with their own little ships go saving the Enterprise, the universe for the Federation. Thank you. I want you to travel with me. Got 13 more colleges to make. I may make a mistake. And a force is coming towards Earth. Maybe God, it may be the devil. It's breaking everything in its path. Except the mind of a starship commander. So what we got to do is we got to get all the other little guys back, all the rest of the crew, all starship commanders, get you from the admiral back into the starship. Everybody who was a starship commander now goes back to their old post, and the admiral now gets to be back to the starship commander, and got to get Spock. Spock? Where's Spock? Where's Spock, you ask? He's doing R&R on Vulcan. Five-year mission, 7 years of R&R. I mean, it's very simple. He's gone back upstream to Vulcan. I mean, he's doing his Pung Nu or Wok Mok Pung Far. Thank you again. I need you with me, baby. Pung Far he's doing upstream. My name for that show was What Makes Salmon Run. And we get him and we go do battle. That isn't what the movie's about at all. But, because that story was rejected by the studio. And they've hired two guys. Why? I don't know why. Who explains the studio? The studios with a capital S. That's what I wear there. It's an S for studio. Every time I say it, it's a little S. We don't know why. But what will be interesting to me, and I hope to you, is that there will be elements of that story in the actual movie. There will be elements of that thing in it, in that one paragraph outline. And that's basically what this thing will be about. Now, I got another story to tell you about that, on that same thing, to deal with the movie. Before I left, the producer's name, the executive producer, the man who's going to really be responsible, he just caught me with my finger up my nose. Captain Kirk looking for his brains or something. Mister. Oh, I bet you play the piano. That's a good sense of time. Before I left, I said to the producer, whose name is Jerry Eisenberg, I said, Jerry, you got to tell me everything you know about the movie because some person is going to ask me, what about the movie? I knew that question would come along sooner or later. And so Jerry, who is, well, I don't want to say he's cliche because he's a very creative person. But if I said, this is a Hollywood producer who's very excitable, you wouldn't believe me. Because this is what he does. He talks like this, and this is what he said. I'll tell you what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do in the movie. In the movie, this is what we're going to do. We can do anything. We can do anything. And then we can do anything. We can kill Kirk, or we can kill Spock. We can do anything. Well, it's science. No, wait a minute. He said, well, that's what I said. No, he said, He said, no, you don't understand. It's science fiction. We can bring him back to life. So I said, kill Spock. I'm having such a good time. All right, you too? Good. That makes sense. Everybody else walking out. Why is that? I don't know. Okay. That's about all I can think of. Oh, wait, well, no. Now, the other thing is that the movie will be open-ended. In like the James Bond movies. If the movie, they're going to spend some $8 million, they have to make $25 million back in the gross in the box office to just pay back their original investment. That's a large sum of money. And to really be a smash success, maybe, double that. So you're talking about, oh, God, $50 million. So if it's a smash success, that open-ended movie, which, the James Bond, this is the beginning, or when they meant this is the end, would be the same thing. And if it were successful, it would spawn another and, future Star Trek movies. If it were a dismal failure and they lost their money, it would be the end of it. Yes. Oh. Tell your friends. Talk to everybody you know, will you please, sir? And if it's somewhere in between, like a moderate success, I would speculate then they might say, let's bring it back to television in an hour and a half drive. What is of interest to me, one of the fascinating things that has occurred to me somewhere in the middle of this long, tumultuous journey I've had in seeing live audiences and talking is that I realize there's 1,100 of you, probably a little more, of you here this evening. You 1,100 and me one. How? Are inextricably bound together for the rest of our lives. You now have seen me in person, this guy who appeared on the screen, and I spit, and perspire. You've seen me as a human being. You'll never be able to see me on the screen again without thinking of this evening and saying, hey, I think I know a little bit about him, what he's really like. And we're bound together from now on as I grow older. And you don't. You look at me, 5 years from now, you look at this, I say, I saw that guy. He's gotten older. You won't see yourself aging out. But what I mean is, we're bound together in a much more familiar. You'll have a part of me, as I will you, for the rest of our lives. And I'm warmed by it. I hope you are. Another question. Yes, dear. Okay. I said yes, dear, and he spoke, so I don't know. How come there are no bathrooms on the Enterprise? Well, that large seat I sat in. Come here. Come over here. Yeah, you're okay. You didn't expect to come up. I mean, why should you be dressed? Right? How's it going?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. What's your name?
Peter.
You just keep looking at me. Forget about them. Are you terrified? No? What were you going to ask me?
How did this start?
I think Leonard, that's an ancient Judaistic sign, you know, that split finger. Do you know what I mean by that? Mr. Spock thought of it. And I once said to him as he gave me that sign, Vulcans speak with forked hand. It was my best line of the day. What else do you want to know? How much do you weigh? 35 what? Kilos? Hey, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Not that I can't hold you because I'm Captain Kirk, but... Okay. What else do you want to know? So speak over here. Wait.
I just want to know how that started.
That's all he wants to know. But what? Tell me your name again.
Peter.
Peter, there must be. Have you seen a lot of Star Trek? A lot? I mean, really a lot? How much? How many times do you watch?
Since it first came on.
Since it first came on?
First time I started watching it when I was 4.
When you were 4. How old are you now?
7.
You've been watching it for 3 years? Are you tired of it?
No.
You're not tired of it? Don't you have any other questions? Isn't there something about it that really mystifies you? That really, it gives you a sense of what's happening? Is there any question you want to ask?
How do you beam down?
How do I beam down? Let me ask you a question before I answer that one. Suppose I told you that it was a machine that could take your whole body and shimmer it down and break it up, and then someplace far away, it could put it together again. If I told you that, would you believe me? If I told you it was a trick done by a cameraman, would you believe me then? I'm not going to tell you which it is.
I know what it is, all right?
What is it? Can we speak in here? You know what it is?
They take off the screen and they kind of make like the person's disappearing. But
You mean it doesn't really happen?
They take away the camera for a minute, and then they make it look like that, and they like kind of fade away.
But if you know that, doesn't that rob it of the magic? Don't you lose the magic? Don't you think, oh, I know how that's done? You can still think, you know how it's done and still have the magic at the same time? You were right, absolutely. Does being stereotyped as Captain Kirk interfere with any other kind of work that I do? Well, no. I mean, you mentioned the Columbo and things like that. No, I wouldn't say that it interfered. But there may be a lot of people saying, let's not hire him because he's known too well as Captain. But I don't know that. All I know is that in this day and age, I'm saying, no, I don't want to do that, whereas 97% of Screen Actors Guild is out of work. So I don't know what but how does it affect my life? Let me tell you a story that really fractured me when it happened. I was on tour for many years. After Star Trek, I would go out every summer and tour in a summer play, usually on the East Coast, that Straw Hat Circuit. And I found the most convenient way of traveling was by means of a truck and a cab over the truck. So I'd drive up to the Summer Theater, and I'd park my rig, and I'd do my week at the theater and drive off into the scene. Goodbye. Well, one theater in New Jersey had our play for 3 weeks. So I decided to take the cab, the thing on the back, the cab, I guess. No, we don't call it the cab. The camper. Thank you. The audience always helps. Then I decided to take the camper off the back of the truck. And I don't know whether you've ever seen the camper that fits on the truck off the truck, but it stands on 4 legs. Okay? Now, my big problem in getting at these summer theaters was where was I going to park for the night? I had to plug in all these things. So that was all arranged ahead of time. But this particular theater was in a fair-sized town in New Jersey, and there was no woods or things that I'd like to park in. So a guy offered me his driveway. And he had a large driveway. So I jacked up the camper on the 4 legs and slipped the truck out. Now I had the truck for convenience and for my transportation. And I would, every night after the theater was over, drive up to my little camper and mount the camper and get in and live there. That was my place to live. Now, if you think about it, those 4-legged little thing looks very much like the lunar module. And I'd walk up, and I wasn't thinking about lunar modules. I was thinking about, God, I didn't get that laugh, And one morning, and then, because you work at night as a theater actor, you sleep late because you work at night. And you're supposed to save your energies for the evening. And one morning, very early, there's a knock on my door. Open the door. Oh, what do you want? It's a little kid about 6. So, you Captain Kirk? I said, go away, kid. You know, a Captain Kirkism. Go away, kid. You're Captain Kirk. So, I said, yes, I'm Captain Kirk. He said, is this your spaceship? So, I said, yes. I said, you want to see my spaceship? He said, yes. I said, come in. I had a little Sony television set. I said, those are my controls. I said, where do you beam down? I showed him the shower. That was about 5 years ago. There's a kid about 11 walking around now saying, I was in Captain Kirk's spaceship, and it looks like this.
Star Trek, the 3 main characters, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy, resemble very much the 3 that they during adult child described by Eric Byrne in Games People Play.
Right.
For example, Kirk is the authoritative parent to make decisions and protect the ship and look at his child. He always talks about values and traditions as parents do. Spock is a logical adult, always making computer-like analysis to make
I'm with you, but I don't know what they're thinking, right? I have no idea why that sound. Really, do you know why? You're positively ignoring it. Is that you're going to carry on no matter what? Yeah.
And McCoy always kind of.
I'm not laughing at you. Just the show must go on. It's just a phrase that rings in my ear every so often.
Side of each issue, and I was wondering if this was intended when Star Trek.
The gentleman and scholar asked me whether the similarity to games people play, the psychological analysis of people and parent, child, and adult, was coincidental or not as to the relationship between Spock, McCoy, and Kirk. Did I sum up what you've just asked? Is the difference between you and me pedantry? The book had not come out, I don't think, in 1966. I don't think it had come out. But obviously these things are in our nature, so that although Byrne wrote it down and proscribed it, these things are universal. So, and we have a lot of, as you only too well know, I'm sure, collective universals, unconscious universals within us, and so that good drama plumbs these universals and makes contact with the audience. You know, I don't really understand. This is the truth. I really don't understand the mystique, the thing of Star Trek. I understand the various levels of dramaturgy involved, the action and the adventure for those interested in that, the science fiction, the family of players, the personal popularity of the individual players, the underlying meanings of the stories and some of the hours, but I've never understood the mystique. And it brings to mind what a hit show is. Nobody can know. I did a turkey called The World of Susie. Which turkey was I thinking of? The World of Susie Wong. It was a book that was millions of copies were sold. It was made into a play and then into a movie. And I was in the play on Broadway. And when we started off in rehearsals, $1 million came to the box office before it was even out on the road. And when we got on the road, they shaped the play and formed it. It was directed by Josh Logan, who had South Pacific and things like that. I mean, David Merrick, who had many great hits before, since, and after. Paul Osborne, fabulous writer. Titans of the theater. And when we opened in New York, we got 7 universally bad notices. It brings to mind, and then, but the end of 3 months, because we had to play for that $1 million advance, by the end of 3 months, the play had gotten going, and people began to come in and ran 2 years. And I don't know why I did that either. But what I'm trying to point out is, no matter how creative, no matter how experienced people are in making hit shows, they never really know what's going to constitute a hit. And sometimes it goes and sometimes it doesn't. And it's really in the area of chemistry between the audience and the actor. And it also is really... I beg your pardon? There were 79 episodes. It really brings to mind what is the head? What is the brain? Is it an organic computer? Or is it, is it merely gray, unprepossessing matter? Or is it something more? A friend of mine, Norman Corwin, did an interesting thing one time. He wrote a play called The Hyphen, which was the University of Utah asked him to do, and we worked together on it. And he wrote a scene which involved what the mind is, what the brain is. And like many great moments of truth, it takes place in a saloon. And the hero's brain is a little fogged with alcohol. And he sees a friend of his, drinking buddy, Fumarella, come in. He's carrying, of all things, a cauliflower. So what have you got there? Let me see that. This is a brain, not a cauliflower. Look here, these convolutions. Cerebrum and cerebellum. Gyri. Corpus callosum. Medulla oblongata. Aren't these royal-sounding names for this majestic mush? Think of it. The compactness and economy. Some thought's gone into this, Fumarella. What an engineer designed this package. Suppose you went to IBM.
And you said, hey, design me something weighing a pound or two which can part sight from sound, smell from touch, and fear from courage. It should love and it should hate upon the proper stimulus. Must distinguish between the smell of roses and oregano. Move 100 muscles several feet away. Ponder urns and theorems and third acts. Make speech remind itself. Feel joy and terror. Do automatic things. Laugh, cry, wring hands. Dream. Die and resurrect itself within the cycle of a day. Oh, and one more thing, Sir IBM. I want this article in mass production. Billions, do you hear? Must be made of air and dust and water, a little passion, a little pain. All right, you got all that? When can you let me have it? But from what ventricle, what ounce of moldy matter seeps the bilge of melancholy? Where are the dreary marshes of malaise? At what joint is the will attached to the subserving flesh, and where is it? The will becomes will-o'-the-wisp. Here, venerable and gracious countenance, take your fruit. I tell you, unless peace and joy and love get top billing on the 4 sheets, what are we but a cattle yard? Thank you for your patient listening and the loan of your fruit. And good night, sir. I am always prolix when potted. And so the unexplored possibilities of man's mind remain a tantalizing distance away. And as the Starship Enterprise probed further and further into space, it kept finding larger dimensions of inner space, that world that is right here, right now, barely perceptible beyond the limits of our 5 earthbound senses. And perhaps, as Star Trek has suggested, one day man will find the image of his own psyche mirrored in the cosmos, whatever he must continue to look and to explore brave new worlds, to seek out new life, new civilizations, and boldly go where no man has gone before. Good night.